Welcome to the Two Grumpy Men, C. Grooms and Bobby May in the building.
Yeah.
We're not even going. Yeah, we in here. We're not gonna hesitate. We're gonna go right in. We're gonna start off this segment right here. We're gonna pay homage to Joey Badass, the All-Amerikkkan album from 2017. You know that we're gonna talk about that album real quickly, and then we're gonna roll off of that. You know, I thought it was a great album.
Yeah.
Joey Badass, you know, he's from Brooklyn, one of the younger generation rappers.
Yes, sir.
24 years old, you know, thereabouts. You know, came up in rough section of, because not all of Brooklyn is rough, but the area that he is from, it actually is. What intrigued me about this album, because when I went in, when you listen to the younger generation of rappers, we know the theme of hip hop culture, what it was, from when we came up. It was always sex, money, and drugs and women, and I'm the baddest, I got the biggest chain, all that other stuff that comes with hip hop. Flash. So I didn't really know what to expect from somebody in that age group, because you remember how we were when we were that age. Were we on the conscious level thinking? Yeah, we was raised on that, but we was still having fun being 20-something, Yeah. But something about this album, it resonated with me. It was like the whole album was good to me, just the content and what he was talking about. But what resonated with me is that his consciousness level of what he's able to portray, the picture that he painted of what America really is for a young black man coming up in it, he was spot on with that. It's for I'm talking about 20-something. Like,
to be that young.
To be that young and to be that aware, and to be in the street, to be aware of what's going on, and still be able to rap about it. That resonated with me because he's well beyond his years. He's not the average rapper, by any means. And by no means. His content was good. I mean, so I don't know. It was a couple of songs. He was just he talked his content.
I mean,
he was flowing too.
He had some really dope songs. He had some great collaborations with Styles P, J. Cole, Chronix, Schoolie Boy, Q. And I mean, then and the whole album really stayed on the tone that he wanted. I mean, the name speaks for itself. All-Amerikkkan Badass. I mean, it was just, it was definitely a great album. I mean, a great piece of work. He always reminded me of Smith & Wesson, Boot Camp Click type MC. Being from Brooklyn and the way he rapped and how he came off his delivery on the microphone. So, I mean, I definitely thought it was a great album. I mean, a couple of joints I highlighted that I really liked. I definitely liked Babylon with Chronix, Legendary with J. Cole. I like Super Predator with Styles P. I like Land of the Free. For My People, Good Morning America.
Good Morning America. I love that one.
Rockabye Baby. I mean, he had 12 joints. I mean, out of the 12, I'd probably say I had at least 10 joints that was solid for me. And so I really respect his craft and basically how he put it down on this album. Even though the album was 2 years ago, it was something to mention because just like you said, it was a young man, 24 years old, coming out of Brooklyn, New York, and I mean, there's a lot of shit you can get into in the streets in Brooklyn, and to be that conscious of where is at in these times is commendable for him. And just just like I said, just an all around good album. I would definitely recommend this album for all my smokers, if you like this, sit back and throw one up in the air. This is the type of album you can do that to. You know, he's gonna hit you with them lyrics. They're gonna make you think, bring you back into a zone, and get you there. You know, maybe you go pick up a book and read something because it's that motivating. That's that type of music. You know what I'm saying? That's what it needs in hip hop. It needs a balance. You know, you can have your party shit, you can have your thugged out shit, but you also gotta have your conscious shit. You gotta have those varieties. That's what makes hip hop such a great art form, and because of the way you can do so many different things in it. And this was just definitely a good album. I mean, not even, I would say, if you was doing it if you was giving it out of 5 mics, I would definitely give it a 4.5.
I was gonna say that because when you start talking about 12 tracks and 10 of them is solid, you know what I'm saying? If any other artist, if this was a mainstream artist, they'll be talking about this is a 5 mic, album.
Yes,
if you're basing it on content and what he was talking about, and the music was good. So when you put all of that together, I could easily say that's a 4.5 because, in theory, there's supposed to be not a perfect album. There is no perfect album, but we've seen 5 mics before. So if I was going to give an album 5 mics, I would say for his generation, it's a 5 mic album. Overall, I would say 4.5 for real, because it needs to be placed in that category with for what he was spilling. I'm gonna have to put him in the realm of like Black Thought, Common, Nas, kind of merged together. You know what I'm saying? Like he was really kicking that type of stuff. And yes, the albums from 2017, and I know the world that we live in, we make it seem like, not we, but in general, society makes it seem like 2 years ago was a long time, and actually not. When you, because there are things that are still not have been resolved from 2 years ago. Within the culture. So 2017 is not that long, and then you got to tour the album. So by the time he come back from touring and doing all that stuff, he'll have more insight, and maybe he might go in a different direction, but that album is a template for life, because this is what every black man that's growing up in urban America is definitely going to go through this. And even if you don't live in urban America, there's things that's going to touch you. Remember, it's American Badass with 3 Ks. American with 3 Ks. So, you got to understand the context of, what it was. So you're not going to hear those type of songs on the radio because, that's not the programming material that is out there in culture. So this is one of those albums that is in your library, and like you just said, if you spark and everything, this is one of those that's going, damn, what'd he say? It's going to make you go back and maybe read something, go research something. Now, me, I didn't spark during the album, and he still had me thinking. I was sober-headed, and I was like, he really dropping some shit. So
he was dropping.
I just want to give him. He dropped it. I want to give, so I'm paying homage to, Joey Badass. This is what we're going to do. We do have a list of, some of the up-and-coming. I say up-and-coming, I just mean the younger generation artists that's coming out. And, we want to hear what they got to say because, for us, we always had that the generation above us, we always tried to look to them for guidance or whatever. Like, we wasn't trying to shun the OGs or whatever. So when you got a cat like this, he obviously has somebody that he was able to talk to and relate to in order to pass down that information, because and of course he researched it himself. You can tell because he lived it and he spoke it, the way that he was rapping. You could tell that it was authentic. So that's the biggest thing. When you start talking about authenticity in hip-hop, that's an element, that's an unwritten element. It's supposed to be authentic. So that's why hip-hop is one of the only genres where we go, well, if he had a ghostwriter, how real could that be? That's somebody else's life. He didn't live that. So when you hear somebody who they're rapping about what they actually live, you got to give homage to it. So I got to put him up there. He got a long career ahead of him. But if I'm talking about him, I'm talking about Kendrick Lamar, I'm talking about J. Cole, the guys, because those guys are mainstream, J. Cole and Kendrick, but, I got to put them in that category of people that is necessary to listen to.
Yeah,
and that, and then that's real. That's, I can't even get more realer than that. So,
yeah, definitely.
That's true.
He's definitely that, like we said, if this was, if he was more critically, more publicity stunts behind him and things like that, this album would have been talked about, all day, every day.
Mm-hmm. Just the cover. The cover itself.
Exactly.
Could you see that on a billboard in the hood? Could you imagine that? Like, because 2017 is like, that was the emergence. Kendrick Lamar was blowing up in 2017. And, the stuff that he was talking about in his album.
Actually, I think they came out, this album came out the same time as his last.
They came out the same time. So
it kind of killed
you
his
see
album,
how it is.
Yeah.
They push, the mainstream push Kendrick.
Yeah, they pushed it, and rightfully so, because he's a dope artist. But
no doubt,
this type of album needed some attention also, and that's the issue with hip hop today, is that basically, like I keep saying, is that there is no balance. You know what I'm saying? It's all or nothing. Like, it's either, you're going to listen to strip club music, or you're going to listen to party music, but you're not going to get that balance of, feeding the brain, because that's not what they want. That's not their emphasis, is to give you insight. That's why you don't hear, you think about it when you listen to, even when you listen to an old school radio station, how many times do you ever hear Public Enemy song? How many times do you hear KRS-One song? How many times do you hear, dudes that really was rapping about something songs, you don't
the X-Clan?
X-Clan. You could throw a whole bunch of people in there. There's a
lot of people from that era. Period. That's true.
You just don't get that anymore. So that's become the norm, which is really shouldn't be, because hip hop is such a versatile craft that there's many more people and many more artists that can get some light, and and stop looking for other people to give us that light, and actually we ourselves as hip hop consumers or hip hop listeners and lovers and people who've been involved with this culture since the beginning, we have to make sure we stay balanced and diverse and listening to a multiple list of things too, to keep our ears, fresh and know what's popping out there and listening to what these guys are saying. That's a way of staying part of the culture and staying up to date with things. That and having kids that's in this age bracket,
true.
There you go. You're going to know about pretty much everything that's going on, because this is what they're listening to, and those are some of the things like I like to show my kids, because they're a little older and they listen to music. I got an older kid, so we always compare music, listen to music. I always clown them, be like, that shit's garbage, and some of it,
right, and it probably is. If you're saying that it's garbage, it probably is.
Some of it is. Some of it is trash. But then you do have those dudes that they listen to because they have it, because they know diversity, so they can listen to a multiple of different artists and be like, this is when they in this mood, so they can listen to that. But then, I'll catch them every now and then. They'll go back and you'll hear them playing the Nas, you'll hear them playing Big Woo, and things Mobb Deep, Locks, shit like that, to get that real content. And then you'll hear, then they'll play, their new people who they like, the Drakes, the Meeks, and things like that.
Right.
Like I said, but no doubt, Badass album was definitely a great album. And if you didn't listen to it, you need to stream it, cop it, something that needs to be in your library, something that
definitely
you need to have, because it's definitely good music and good listening material.
That's definitely part of the library, and it should be. Let me ask you a question, because as you was talking about back in the days, you said we didn't really hear KRS-One on the radio. You didn't really hear Public Enemy on the radio. So, not really. But, so this template of not playing that type of music on the radio has been in effect for a long time. So, we have to ask ourselves, why? Why is this template still going in effect as far as radio is concerned. Like, because when you talk about program managers, they're not putting they weren't putting those type of songs on their playlists. And and the only reason that we knew about Public Enemy in terms of some of the other songs, that because we bought the album. So we might have heard Can't Trust It on the radio or Welcome to the Terror Dome, but when you bought an album and you started listening from beginning to end, you found other tracks, just like KRS-One's album. When he disappeared for a little bit, after Why Is That, the Blueprint, like, because that's the original Blueprint was KRS-One.
Yeah.
No doubt. So, he had that, then he disappeared for a minute, and then he came back out with Boom Bap. So, but Boom Bap didn't get radio play, but it was playing in the hood, it was playing on the streets. So I guess my question is, why is that template still in effect even today? I don't know. There's no simple answer to it. I know, but it's the same thing that's been going on. Like this album is indicative of that.
I mean, we know why, pretty much why it's not being played. Like I said before, was that this type of music brings out thinking. This type of music brings upliftment. This type of music gets people curious to go read and research and find out information. You know what I'm saying? And you got to remember that when we was coming up and these albums was out, and you had the Rakims, and you had the KRSs, and you had the Big Daddies, and you had the Chucks, and you had all these other dudes that was coming behind them, and the things that they would, the raps that they were doing. And we was fortunate enough to listen to that. You had, because we had Tribe, we had De La, we had, we had all of these things. So, and but once they seen the shift, because I always look at it they looked at it from that point when Spike Lee did Do the Right Thing. And when Spike Lee did Do the Right Thing, and you seen Public Enemy, and they had that song, and I mean it brought so much awareness. Like, people who didn't know about Malcolm X picked up books after the movie, started reading.
Absolutely.
Because you always get people who be like, "Oh, that movie was terrible," this and that, but they didn't see the worth of what it did. What it did was that it opened up eyes and minds to something that they weren't aware of at that time. Because, it was going in the night, we was in the crack era, and pretty much all dudes was talking about getting money, but here came, still had some consciousness in it, and they was saying things that had other brothers aware, and cats was going to college, listening to this, and getting in classrooms and having Black History classes, and they in there going at it with teachers based off of something a KRS-One lyric said.
All Public Enemies, and those cats went to college.
Exactly.
KRS-One is actually a teacher. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So like that was that. Then then came NWA. When NWA came with the rawness, it was just like, but that was just so raw that it made them even more scared. But they wasn't really scared as much as they were scared of you picking up a book than they were scared of you being violent, because now they could do so, this is their violent behavior, this incites riots, things like that. So now they could do things to shut down concerts, they can lock people up, things like that. It brought them to that. But when you had, Public Enemies, and when their Ice Cubes and all them dudes, remember, came with the rawness, that made them nervous. Right. Because now these, they
were scared of Cube when he was with the Nation. When he was with the Nation of Islam.
Yeah, they were scared of
Cube.
Yeah. And the things he was implying, the things he was saying, and the people he was, and he was moving people away from things. And now it was like, oh wow, you know what I'm saying? But then they found a new way. What they did was they suffocated the voice of New York, pretty much.
Right.
And it all switched it to down south. and strip club music and, you know, back to the trap and things like that. That's what was selling.
So would you say before, when it was on its way, when hip hop was on its way to L.A. in terms of that was what was coming on the radio, in between there you had Suave House and M-Ball, MJG and 8 Ball. You know, like you had them. I think in Chicago you might have had like Twista. Like it was, you know, it was becoming mainstream for real. But I mean, granted, you didn't hear it Suave House like that. You know, Scarface. You know, these guys was, you know, up in the game, but it was becoming something. We embraced Scarface. We definitely embraced Houston. Like that's what I like. Texas artists. We definitely was there. We definitely was embracing Atlanta because a lot of New York heads was in Atlanta in the 90s. You know, so the Outcasts, like going to school, all of that. So Cali came and, you know, swept up the game. But, you know, the voices, like you said, that got suffocated, it was so much room that you could have had gangster rap and still had consciousness, and it could have all came together. But today it's more like they just got one thing or the other now. Like, you don't hear consciousness. So Kendrick Lamar is as conscious as you're going to get, which is, you know, he's dope. J. Cole, you're right. Them two was like, ooh, so for this era, they're almost like KRS-One and Public Enemy. You know, for their generation, like that group, and then they birthed the Nas.
If you look at it in that aspect, you would have to throw in, you know, the late Nipsey for what he did, and you know how he was trying to move and inspire, and then, you know, that's a whole nother, you know, branch that, you know, we could get into, but we don't touch it right today.
Right. You know who reminded me of Nipsey on what the moves that he was making under the surface that nobody really knew about. Special Ed was on that because he owned a lot of properties too. Yeah. Even though his album wasn't out there, he was actually
he bought a studio.
He bought studios. Like he was doing stuff too. So
he was putting
dudes
on from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, it's just it was just a way that they figured out how to start. Because you got to remember, in New York, it was always about lyrics. So everybody wanted to make sure they had lyrics, and they was dropping lyrics that meant something. It wasn't about the hook. It was about the bars that was in there. You know, the bars and the beat. Then it became more about when they took it to the strip club, it became more about the hook. And, you know what I'm saying, and it wasn't about lyric content. It was just about saying something that could stand behind that hook. And, you know, things.
Right.
I mean, it worked.
And the beat.
I ain't mad.
It does work.
It worked.
I ain't mad at that.
It got a lot of brothers paid, which was great. There's nothing wrong with that. And you know, but once again, it just has to be a balance of it. It has to be a balance. You know, it has to be a balance to everything, and you can't just OD on one thing and not the other. And you'll always get people say, well, you know, New York had it for such and such amount of years, and there was no balance. I'm like, we're the founders. They found this where it started at. So of course there was always this is where it started at. This is where all the main artists came from first. Then you started getting.
But it was diverse.
You know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a lot of different type of artists.
You had.
I'm talking about on the East Coast period.
Yeah, you had the party joints. Yeah. You know, you had everybody who did the party. You had the party joints. You had the thugged out Coogee raps. You had the biz with the funny joints. You had, you know, like Big Daddy Kane was talking that player shit back then in the late 80s.
Right, before Too Short.
Yeah, like, you know, I don't know exactly when Too Short's up, but I know Ice-T was down. He was doing his thing.
Oh, Ice-T was doing that for a minute, yeah. He came in the early 80s.
You know, you just had a whole lot of versatility back then. Like I said, you had Tribe, you had the De La's, you had Jungle Brothers. You know, you just and then you just had straight lyricists, Big L's. You know, you had a whole. It just was.
True.
It was, you know, it was a lot more balance. Now it's no balance. It's all about a dude who's getting a check from the label, playing what the label wants them to push and play. Push this new.
That's it.
Push this. Push this. Look at R&B. You have no R&B anymore. R&B is like it's horrible. Like either they're basically sing rapping because most of these dudes are singing. You know, they're trying to rap but sing, and it's you turn on the radio, you hear everybody trying to sound like Chris Brown, Trey Songz. It's ridiculous. Everybody want to be There's no original to R&B. Where's the R&B male singers? Like, you got a few. You got to go underground. And it's sad to say that they're underground. How you go underground for R&B? Like, that's love music. How you go underground for that?
I thought love was supposed to be out front and center.
Exactly.
You got to go underground to get love.
You got to go underground to go find an R&B artist, a good R&B artist. Like, that's just crazy.
You know what that reminds me of? That movie Love Jones. Like, you got to go to the club and hear live music in order to hear love music. Like come on, man.
It's like it's just
it's crazy.
It's crazy. So I mean, those are things that have and hip hop has become $1 billion industry. So once money got involved, people got their hands in it and started wanting to control it and shape it the way they want it to make them money. And there was not enough black ownership in the business. Like, not dudes didn't know about owning their masters and things like that. And
that came later.
That came later. You know what I'm saying? I mean, people wasn't thinking about going independent. Most people was trying to get a label deal. They had the label knocking at the door, and that's why the label was able to basically rob a lot of people. You know what I'm saying?
Exploit you wanted to get money, so they exploiting you to get the advance money.
Yeah, they
take this $100,000.
Yeah, then they tell you it's coming out of this.
Not knowing that
out of this. Yeah, coming out of your album sales. People was getting like 3 cents an album that they sold for $10, $12. I mean, it was just unbelievable.
Now that you bring that point up, like when your contract says you're getting 12 cents on a dollar, but after they take out everything, pay this and pay that, you ended up with 3 cents. You know what I'm saying? 3 cents on a $12 album. And an advance is a loan. It's a loan. Like, you're paying it back. You pay everybody.
You pay that shit back. Oh, that's just, and then you out here, in these clubs, spending money, doing all the things you want, buying cars. That's why you see a lot of rappers from back in the day. A lot of them, they're not good. They financially at least. They went through hard times. Only a few, some made it, but a lot didn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's just
the game, though.
Yeah, because you didn't understand your contract. You didn't understand it. You didn't read it. You didn't know what an advance was. You didn't know that what you were signing pretty much stated that, they have control over your show money, they got control over your marketing, they got control over anything that comes there, they getting a piece of. So
publishing too. The most important
They ate all your publishing. Like, your name wasn't on your publishing. You wrote the song and you barely getting any money off of it. So I mean, it was just a lot of things going on. And and one thing I can say about the new generation is that they have become smarter. They understand the business much better than dudes when we was coming up, except for maybe RZA, because his deal that he had for his artists, for his clan, for the clan, was just groundbreaking. Like, nobody had ever seen that. You had one group deal, but then everybody could go out and get their own individual deal.
That was groundbreaking because of the value.
Exactly, and that opened eyes and things that showed people that, oh shit, yeah, you can go in here and negotiate this shit when you have good quality of shit. You got good quality music, you got dope MCs, I got the music, I'm the producer. Listen, go ahead, sign Method Man to Def Jam. Go ahead, sign Ray the Loud. Go ahead and sign Ghost to Epic. Go ahead and sign, U-Guard to Loud. Go ahead, to RZA label. Go ahead and it's just how they did it, and that was monumental in itself because it had never been done, And then you had people like, later right behind that was Master P. He's like, fuck that, I own all my shit. I'm taking it from the trunk, and it's still mine. It's my label. All I need from you is a distribution deal. Dudes,
and he started flipping that. when that started coming,
so
the distribution deal came in. That changed the game because you have your own stuff. You just partnering up with the label who has found your stuff worthy to even partner up with, because they're going to make money off of it regardless. But this is where the negotiation comes in at 60-40, 70-30. It don't matter. Like, big-ass checks is getting cut. So, you getting a check for $800,000, it's still $800,000. Like, all right, yeah, that was your piece. But that's off distribution. Like, those are big deals. And I could say this, though, for the younger artists that are coming up, they do understand that aspect of the business. It's a business. They know that they do need to read their contract. They need to be aware of, what a 360 deal is. How much money that they're actually going to make. What they can put out, what they can't. So they are more business savvy than the artists that was out 30 years ago. In that regard. Plus, there's more money at stake too. So, in reality, I gotta give them props because they put some time into learning the business instead of just wanting to get on and get the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that, and I would say that a lot of other dudes, when they watched other dudes, like the Jays, like the Master P's, they watched them. How they moved in the game and made their business moves. Suge,
Will Smith, Ice Cube, LL Cool J, any Tupac, any of those people that was able to go through many genres. They were actors, they were rappers, like anybody that's able to do that. Once you went to the TV movie, rapper template, and you was able to do all three, that's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Only one, Jay-Z never went into acting, but he didn't have to. Because he was able to be a businessman. He helped make movies, though.
He's involved in a lot of things. But, those were avenues that, people like Master P opened up. Like, we don't need
Master P was crucial. He was crucial to the game.
I make my own movie and put it out myself through Blockbuster. Like, these kids don't even know what Blockbuster is.
Well, that's because Blockbuster is gone. I found my Blockbuster card about a month ago, actually. When I was cleaning up, and I saw it. I guess that blue and yellow, you'll never forget it.
That's what I mean. Like, so that was like big. Those would change the game moves by these guys. You know what I mean? So, and it's just in that aspect of why hip-hop is what it is, and that needs to be taught more to the youth coming up. Like, it shouldn't be such a separation between new and old, because at the end of the day, if you're new, some of these guys you idolized and you watch their moves to get to where you are, and they can still help you if they not hating, and which they shouldn't be hating, but it's the nature of the business. Everybody's competing for that spot, competing to be seen, competing with this. When all in reality, there's money out there for everybody because of the way it is. But just because of the internet, social media, and all these outlets you have now, it's really no competition. If people like your shit, they're just going to buy it. They're just going to listen to it. They're going to stream it. If it's out there, that's all you have to do is let them know where it's at, and they will go find it and listen to it. So it's totally different, and they gotta, you gotta stay sharp, stay away from these new deals that they getting you on, these 360 deals where they get a part of it, everything, and you start controlling, the narrative of your business. Like, have a business. You gotta have a business. You gotta be able to build your brand. That's everybody's trying to do. Build their.
And they know that. They definitely know about the brand game. Everything is a brand and marketing. The marketing, and the biggest part that seems to get left out today is the content, and, to bring it back to, Joey Badass, he had content. So,
he had content.
He definitely had content, and the message was clear. For people in our age bracket, for me to be able to hear what you were saying, and it was coherent, and I understood it clearly, and I said, he's going to be all right. Even if he never rap again, if he never made another album, his head was on straight. You could see that the only thing he has to learn how to do is you just got to live and go through life, because once you learn what the game really is, that's where you become an adult, and the challenge is to not get caught up in the bullshit, because you know what it is already. Now you got to be able to reach down and, teach somebody what the game is, and they may not be ready for it. But, if it's somebody that's close to you, you got to bring them through. You got to have that helping hand. You got to hit them with the jewels, whatever it's going to be. That's why you can't be afraid of our people, man. You know what I'm saying? Like me and you, we don't rock like that. We're not afraid of the youth. You know what I'm saying? One, because we have, kids, and you have kids in that age group. And I work with that age group. So, yes, we're not going to be afraid of our kids. They need us. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, what's going on? Like, we could look at the same movie and see two different messages, because, one, we live what the movie's showing us, and then we got to analyze it for, all right, this is what they really was trying to say. And then a youngin might look at it differently. So you got to put the both parts together. So we need each other, without question. That's why I don't do the age division thing. I just go by what can you handle mentally versus what you're not really ready for. And that comes out in conversation. Like, nah, he ain't ready for this level of conversation. You know what I'm saying? And when they are ready, and I give them props, I give them that, but then I still remember, like, all right, when I was 25, like, you ain't going to preach to me, dog. Like, I ain't stupid. I'm an adult. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. But then some of them, they want you to talk to them because they're hungry for the knowledge so they can apply it. They got that part of the game. They young and they know how to apply shit. They just haven't been taught all of the rules. And you know what? Maybe some of them have gotten ahead because they've ignored some rules. But then you still got to come back to it. Nobody's going to make it by just going off of the grid. You can't just go totally off the grid and make it, without any help and not following a template. You could blaze your own path within the structure, but you're not going to just be all the way out here in left field and like, yeah, I'm doing it over here. It usually don't work like that. Not without cash. So, but, that was, shout out to, the Joey Badass. If, anybody that, that's listening, they're going to understand this, is that album just brought out this whole level of conversation, because we had to bring it to hip-hop, because he obviously is a student of hip-hop culture, and, what is going on out here. So, much respect. You know what I'm saying? So this is what we do. But let's segue. Let's talk about this minimum wage thing. We've had many conversations. The minimum wage is now $15 an hour. I know a couple of businesses in most places, not everywhere, but in most places, especially not everywhere, but in major urban cities. I'm talking, when I say major, I mean like with millions of people. Like in New York City, they had to raise the minimum wage. Now, I know a business person right now. Like he owns a company, and he has had to scale back on the amount of hours that he's going to give a person versus giving them outright. Like, you got to pay them minimum wage regardless, but I'm still going to scale back your hours. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll give you 5 hours at 15, as opposed to when you used to make $10 and I would give you 8 hours. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to give you $75, $75 to $80. You're just getting it in a shorter period of time. So you need more people, or you're going to have one person that you're going to have less staff members if you're going to have full-time people. Mm-hmm. So it gets tricky. But how could now us on the working end, if you're working and you're getting to $15 an hour and you got bumped up from, say, $9 or $10 an hour, and you live in a metropolis where the cost of living, where you actually need to be making like $25 an hour just to tread water. Because even at $15 an hour, that's not anything in New York.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just not.
I mean, it's just not. I mean, it's a type of situation where a lot of people, are suffering. You know what I'm saying? Because the cost of living is super high in certain places. The New Yorks, the Seattles, L.A. I mean, all over pretty much, really. I mean, you can look now. You could go on any apartment app or whatever and look for somewhere to live in Georgia, Texas, anywhere, Houston, Dallas. I mean, wherever, and you're gonna pay. You're talking about, for something nice or something, not in the hood, you're going to pay at least $1,300, $1,400, $1,500, close to $1,500 for maybe a good 2-3 bedroom, a house or apartment, or a nice apartment, so you're going to pay some money.
Or a mortgage, for the people that can afford it.
Exactly. And if you get a mortgage, then, the difference is, though, when you're buying a house, you got more options. You can play with it. You could do some things to help lower your mortgage and things of that nature. But when you when you out renting, there's nothing you can't play with because it's somebody else's property. It's somebody else renting it to you. You know what I'm saying? And this is what they're asking for. I mean, people are asking in Brooklyn $2,500 for a damn near 2-bedroom. Like $15. Even if you make $15, you still gonna need about 5 roommates to pay this to get the $500 each. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the cost of living is so high that even when you raise it to $15, it still ain't gonna help them because, like you said, now businesses cutting back hours. They gotta cut back the hours. They don't want to pay health insurance. They don't want to do none of these things. Now, once this is, it's like you can't win. So, I see businesses complaining that they losing business. There was an article where this business in Massachusetts that was around said for like 2-3 decades or whatever, and they went out of business because they had to raise the $15. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, you've been in business for 30 years or so. And they gave you like over a year to prepare for this increase, to get your books right, to figure out how you wanted to do this, how you wanted to make it work, to be able to still keep your place staffed. And you ran, and none of it, like you didn't do any preparation, like you didn't think it was going to happen. So as much as you want to blame it on $15, it being raised to $15 in places, it's also bad business. People are doing bad business. Their businesses, they're not running their business right. So, a lot of people, in certain places, like for instance Georgia, it's at-will state. They'll probably never get it to $15 in Atlanta. That won't happen. Because they're going to still try to tell you that it's the cost of living. Meanwhile, cost of living is damn near as high as anywhere else in any other city. So and they're still paying people out here $9.50 for minimum wage, $10 the most. And that shit ain't paying nothing. That shit, you're gonna be struggling. Let's give them the numbers. Because I did the math. If you work 40 hours a week at $15 an hour, you make $600 a week. Okay, so that's $2,400 a month. That's on a gross end. Okay, so, really your take home on $600 a week, if you get paid biweekly, which many places do, you're talking about $1,200 gross. After taxes and all that stuff, you're talking about maybe $850. So $850 and $850 is that's $1,700 a month. That's what you bring home. Your rent, what you just said, which is true, your rent is over $2,000. So you didn't even eat yet. You didn't get to work yet. You didn't eat and you didn't get to work. Let's start there. You didn't even pay your utilities.
You didn't pay utilities yet. We ain't even talking about no cable. We talking about basic light and gas. Okay, electric, water, electric. Gas, electric, water. Some places pay water. Let's say food. And so when you start getting into the food aspect, Rob, when you start talking about, all right, I need to buy food. We need to eat healthy. We need this. That stuff costs more. To eat healthy costs more because of the the growing aspect, like wherever you're getting your food from, it's a higher quality food. So it's like anything else in life. A higher quality means, the people that make it are expecting you to pay more. So if you're not making enough money to do that, it's like, well, what do you do? A person's making $15 an hour. Now, is that something to sneeze at? No. If a young person is they're working 40 hours. Let's say young, if you're in college and you're like part-time college, but you're working full-time, that's a lot of money for you because you're most people are at home.
Yeah, they bounce back and forth between
they bounce back and forth.
House.
Right.
Dorm,
so
living in the dorm, I'm going back home.
You could put some money together to live comfortably. But now, once you become full-blown adult and you have to pay out that $2,000, $2,200 a month, $2,500 a month, and you only making 17, you 500 in the hole off the rip every month. So after a year, what are you? You're $5,000 in the hole. So you need a roommate. You need somebody else that also has a job in order to maintain wherever it is that you're trying to wherever you're trying to go. So that's where. So I understand the business aspect, but like you just said, it's bad business if you did not prepare for this increase because you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
But on the flip side is, $15 ain't that much in a metropolis like here. And then if you're outside, let's say you're outside one of the major cities and you're getting $15, but you're not going to be getting those hours like that. It's not a major market. It's not a lot of traffic. So a lot of businesses can't even justify on their own books keeping you 40 hours at $15 an hour where it's not highly populated. Because I've been to restaurants fast food, like in Maryland, where in a rural part of Maryland they make $12 an hour. Like that's good money because of where they live, but it's also they're not shielded from the cost of living from where they are. Other
Maryland
things are high.
Quite expensive.
Maryland is very expensive. For those that don't know, it's a very expensive state. And I don't care where you are, Baltimore, D.C., or it don't matter. Like it just is. So you figure people come to the big city because they want to make the money. So, but when they get here and they see how much it costs to live here, it's like, wow, what do I do? How am I going to live? So yeah, going to $15 an hour, it's great for the worker, but if you can't afford to live here, what are you going to do?
It's great for the worker if they're getting the hours. It's not great for you if they haven't made a plan. Like if you're used to originally getting, 40 hours a week, and now and you're only you're getting 30, and that's 10 hours you lost. So now you got to make that other 10 up. So now you got to either get another job, do something else to supplement that income. And most people do. That's what they're going to have to do. I mean, most people's already working 2-3 jobs just to be able to afford their living. So that they work a day and then drive Uber or Lyft at night or something. To supplement that income. And that's why those things became so vital to the society, because it was able for people to just jump in their cars, sign up, and ways of making quick money without having to really go somewhere else and slave, where you could just be in your car either delivering food or you can or picking up people and make a quick $200-300 to help you keep your lights on. But I guess most of the people that really stood that us up was the small businesses who didn't have that, who didn't, small businesses, it takes a minute for them to develop into into getting it running and things like that. So of course, if that was happening and now they say, well, we're going to do the 15, you got 10 staff members. Of course you're going to have to cut people, but that's business. That's business. And, it's your business, so you're going to have to obviously probably put in some work yourself. Like, you're going to have to work your business yourself, too. Like, you may have got used to the luxury of not being at the cash register. You used to can afford to pay somebody $8-10 to go stand at the cash register while you was doing whatever the hell you want to do. But now that they're ready, guess what? You gotta you gotta do it a different way. You may have to cut back about 3-4 of your workers. I'm sorry, I can't really keep you full time. I may keep you on call or something like that. But if something changes, I'll let you know. You know how it goes. Last hired, first fired. You know what I'm saying? That's how
all
that
day,
shit works.
all day.
You know what I'm saying? So you gotta
That's how it goes.
but when you in business, you gotta make tough decisions. And those are tough decisions, you know what I'm saying? Those are the tough decisions you have to make. How you had to get ready to be able, then you get the complaint that you throw the 15 in, then the benefits also. So now you got we got to pay for the bennies, and with that's really hurting us. I mean,
yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say that this works for everybody, that this model worked for everybody, but I wasn't in the restaurant business. I was in the social service business, and I ran group homes for over 10 years, owned them, put them up. Me and my family, that's what we did.
Right.
One thing what I found out was 1099 was your friend. Like, you know what I'm saying?
All
like,
day.
You're not
all
an
day.
employee. You're not an employee. You're a contractor. So I'm not
independent contractor.
I'm not paying taxes on you, and I'm not. I'm not paying workers. If anything, I'm not paying workers' comp on you, and none of that. So if you get fired, I'm not paying. I'm not paying for unemployment and none of that. I don't have to pay for health benefits or anything. It's all on you. You're your own business. That's something you have to do. If you want to work in my home, this is how I pay. I do 1099. Where I give you a set pay. You work the week, you work the nights, you work the weekends. This is your contract. This is how much we pay. You get paid once a month, and this is what it is. And that was it. Like, and that's what I learned. Like, you don't have to make people your employees. You can make them 1099. It's all right to 1099 people.
I think that's a great idea. Actually, there are businesses that do that now. As far as independent contractors, that is actually the way to go. But, as a person who worked under a 1099 before, what I do like about that, if you have the right mindset, you are responsible for your own taxes. You can move money around. The biggest thing is what you have to be mentally prepared for. You have to think like a business person because you're being contracted out, and that's where your mindset needs to be. So if I'm a 1099, you're going to 1099 my business, not me, the individual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to put my name. I'm going to put my business name and EIN number.
And
so you're paying the business. You know what I mean? So that's what they need to learn.
And
you showed them that.
I showed a lot of them that. Like, look, this is what you do. You're a business. You're your own business. You're a contractor. You come in. You work with the kids. You work with the adults. You're a contractor. This is what it is. You know what I'm saying? You can either put it under your own name, or you can, file you a business, put it under your business, get you a business account.
Get your LLC and put it under your business name.
Put it under your business name and get you a bank account in your business name and checks, and I'll cut checks, and you can deposit that straight to your business. That's how you do it. Like, some people understood it and they did it, and they made a lot of money working in the group home with me. Then there was people who didn't do it, and they wound up paying a lot in taxes because they wasn't doing it. Like, I was like, you got to pay your taxes every quarter. Try to pay them every 3 to 4 months. Get it on the system. So this way, at the end, you don't got to get paid with the big lump sum, or unless you got a list saving your write-offs off, like whatever you do, you know,
Right.
how much miles on your vehicle to come back and forth to work, anything you gotta, you know, supplies you gotta use, you gotta write that off. You know what I mean? And you know, these are things.
That's incoming and outgoing. So my credit and debit now.
So you know, and a lot of them, you know, a lot of people, some, like I said, some got it, some didn't, and you know, but that's what I figured, found out, like, you know, people are caught up in, you know, I gotta have employees. I think it sounds good to them, like I need an employee. I'm the boss. I need an employee. No, I don't need employees. I need contractors. I need you to be a contractor for me.
I need you to be a specialist.
Yeah, I just need you to come in. You know what I'm saying? If you're a bartender, you should want to be a contractor. Cause give me all my money. I want all my shit. Don't take no tax. I'm working off tips in any way. Same thing with waitresses and waiters. 1099 them. Yo, nah. You know, you your own business. Cause you could go work in multiple restaurants. You a waiter, waitress. You know, you could pick up a shift here. It's your business. You're a business.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
That's how you have to look at it. You know, that's how you do it. Businesses have to adapt to that. Like, yo, we're gonna pay. We're gonna contract you. This is how you avoid certain things. Like I said, I taught a lot of them the game because I was basically like, look, you know, you can get health insurance, but you're going to get it as a self-employed health insurance, as a contractor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at one point, I set up a policy where it was for my business. They asked me how many people was working under us, and we had them, and we was doing that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Every month, out of their check. And, you know, some people did it, and they signed in. And, you know, as long as it stayed above 10 people, it was good. So,
right.
I mean, they gave you a deal. This is what they did. You was a contractor. This is, you know, they know what it is, how you getting paid. And, you know, back then, of course, you know, health insurance wasn't as it is now, but, you know, that was a way. Like, you have to be creative. You have to think outside of shit. You got to be smart. You know, you got to play the game. You know what I'm saying? And then playing the game is understanding that, you know, not blaming the people who are out here just trying to make a living and, you know, trying to deal with this high cost of living and saying that they shouldn't get $15 hours. Well, if you want to get $15 an hour, you a contract worker. I'm contracting you to work this amount of hours every month. Is that good for you? You know what I'm saying? That's it.
I like it. I like the model. So, you know, when we have these discussions with people, and I'm talking about with people that took economics and things of that nature, you know, supply and demand. Look, the work is here. The demand is here. Now, if I'm here, you're supposed to be generating business. Now, in the example that you gave, you're talking about group homes where there's going to be bodies that are going to come through, you know, through the group home. You understand? So money is there if you want to work and you want to make it. Now, on your end, all you have to do is make sure that, or you do a lot actually, but the main thing is make sure that you have staff for the shifts. The money is there to pay them because it's being received from the state, you know, for these individuals that are there, and the money is there if you want to make it. You know, so from a business end, I wouldn't be complaining like, oh, I got to give this person $15 an hour. That wouldn't be my concern. All you have to do as a businessman is like, okay, now if I got 10 employees and I know if everybody work full time, how much this figure is, then I got to figure out how much it is if I have some full time and some part time in terms of contractors. And then teaching them the game, like you said, you taught some of them the game. All right, look, this is how it is, because now it's a partnership. Like, you work here, you work with me, not for me. Because you can leave at any time as a 1099, but believe me, I got another 1099 that want those hours.
Exactly.
So, you know, that's how the game go. Like, so as long as you're making money and you want to do this and you want to learn the business, it can be taught. And that's the one thing that a small business, you know, meaning, you know, well, technically, according to the Business Bureau, small business is anything under 50 and 100 employees. You know what I'm saying? To me, as a independent businessman. Like, I can't even envision having 100 contractors. I don't need that many. You know what I'm saying? But
we had 6 homes, and we probably had about
24 hours. You had 24-hour homes. Yeah, put that out there.
24-hour residential facilities, and it was 6 of them. Some homes had about anywhere from had at least 4 to at least had 2, and I mean, 24 hours. So you basically, somebody like, it's my business. So I took a home. I worked the shift every day. I come in from early in the morning, and then I get relieved for night and weekends. And all I had to do was hire a night person. This is what I'm gonna pay you for from Monday to Friday, right? Then on Saturdays I got the weekend person. This is what it is to work the weekends here. From Saturday morning to Monday morning. This is what it is.
Right.
This is how much I'm paying you for the weekend. Dudes was happy. They was fighting to get them hours. Like, yo, somebody working the weekend? Can I get the weekend? You talking about you making $350 just for the weekend.
Right.
That's what
because you got to look at it. Time doesn't stop, brother. So when you're in a 24-hour business, you're working all of these hours. So, if I got to work a 12-hour shift per day, it's only 24 hours in a day. I just work half of them.
Yeah.
So I work half today and half tomorrow.
I worked 12. I came in from 8 to 8. I worked 8 to 8.
Yeah.
I worked 12 hours a day. I was in my own shit working 12 hours a day. My brother was in one working 12 hours a day. My sister was in one working 12 hours a day. And we had staff going around. My cousin was in another home. He was living in the home. Then he would just, it was his home, contracted him. So he understood that he would contract for weekend help out of his pay because I was giving him the bulk pay.
Exactly.
Like, because you live in there.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you the bulk pay. So if you want somebody to keep, like, I only need 2 weekends off a month. All right. And then when when holiday time comes, he don't want no time off. I need all my money. I'm here every day. I'm going to get all this money. I'm going to get all this.
That's how I go.
You know what I'm saying? I had to like, look, come on, man, give somebody a weekend, man. People want to eat too. Let them get some of the weekends. He'd be like, I give him a day or something, but that's it. But when he understood, that was his business, though. That was his business. You see what I'm saying? He was taking care of it like it was, you're a contractor. You run this home. This is the home you running. You in charge. You interview your staff. We interview them together. I send them down to you. You see if you like them. If you like them for the weekend, you put them on. If not, I try to find them somewhere else that somebody else want off for. And that's how it was. That's how it is. Like, as a small business, all hands on deck. As a family business,
it's all exactly.
All hands on deck. You got to get dirty with the workers. You got to be in the trenches too, and we're working until you can build up to where And in me personally, I never wanted it. I always wanted to shift because I like to be there in the daytime, making sure everything is going smooth. Anything go wrong, I'm there. I'm the one that's it's my business. I'm there. So and
as you should, you're the frontline person.
Exactly.
That's what people need to learn. They need to be hands on when you run in a business. You need to be hands on, front and center. So you could know how to solve problems because you're gonna make mistakes, but then you're also gonna learn from them, and you can take that with you when you start your next business because that's just one business, But here's the jewel that a lot of people don't get. Okay, here's the flip side. When you want to be an independent contractor, when you create your LLC, you could create it in your name, and then you get an EIN number. You get an EIN number for your name. Instead of using your Social Security number, use your EIN number. Whatever your name is, LLC. If it's not available, which it should be, If it's not, then there's a problem somewhere. But you be creative. Your name should be able to go. Something, first name, last name, Inc. Get an EIN number. That's it. Go work. That's the game. Because you live, businesses, this is what runs America. Corporations. Corporations deal with each other on a paper level. They don't deal with individuals. That's why when you talk about 1099 and this and that, there are people who have never heard of that form. And I'm glad that you put it out there so that they understand, so they can go look that up. Oh, that means independent contractor. Well, what does that mean? You are your own entity. So you're going to be responsible for your taxes.
Like I remember the bottom I was hiring this one dude, and he didn't know what it was, and he was like 1099. What does that mean? Da, da, da. I'm like, basically told him that means you're gonna get your whole check with no taxes, but you gotta pay your taxes. So he's figuring the math out. He's like, so every month if I work the weekends, I'm gonna see what's that, about $1,300 tax, and I just gotta pay my own tax at the end. Yeah, and I'll show you what to do. He was like, He was like, yeah, that's what's up. And this was a part-time job for him.
Yeah.
This was a part-time job because during the day, he was working in the school system. He was working in the school system. In the daytime, he come on Saturday and he ready to, he ready to stay for the weekend and get his bread. I mean, you talking about almost $1,400 a month. That was extra income for him. Added that in with his paycheck, and then you your tax person. They do the numbers right. You got your write-offs. You get your numbers right. You ain't worried about that shit because they're going. They gotta you gotta go to them right people. You gotta get you a CPA, or you gotta get somebody who really know how to do taxes, so they can show you what to do and how to get it done right. You know what I'm saying? You can't. If you know what I'm saying, I wouldn't advise doing it on, something like TurboTax if you've never done it before. At least let somebody do it first and see how it works, and then if you want to try it after that, then do it. But to initially start out, I ain't saying you got to be a genius to do the shit, but no, but it's better to get a real tax consultant or an accountant. Somebody that actually knows how to do taxes. Like, because a lot of times, it's very intricate. They're gonna tax you. Like, a lot of people don't know it's a short form and a long form. So, you might not get everything back you're supposed to get if you don't, fully explain and think about everything that you've done, and the write-offs you have, like supplies you bought, things like that, and all that. Those things, as an independent, as a contractor,
your work phone.
Yeah, your
gas.
work phone. If you got, that's your phone you use for business. If your gas to get the work back and forth, or mileage, they use either one. However you want to do it. There's certain things you got to know. You know what I'm saying? Business trips, things like that, or anything. So, you just gotta, you can't just be, well, they raised this money. Well, you gotta get creative, man. We gotta all figure out how we can help one another to survive in this in what's going on, because cost of living is really at an all-time high in certain areas. Like, New York has always been expensive, but to live downtown Brooklyn, you're gonna pay $2,500 for a 2-bedroom. It's just ridiculous. Like, that shit is crazy. That's just crazy to me. Like, come on. Like, I understand it's a certain population that they want, or certain people that they want in those areas that can afford it. But even when you look at it, a lot of them can't afford it. They got 4 or 5 roommates living in that motherfucker with them. And and all of them in there probably making about 30, 35 or 40 grand a year. And they still can't, they got to live with somebody. Because
somebody
they can't
move out, they might lose the place.
Exactly.
If they don't replace them.
Exactly. Like, they sign contracts like, you can't leave until a year or whatever the hell it may be. They locking each other in.
Yo,
in contracts.
that's how I gotta be, dog.
You know what I mean? So it's serious. It's like really serious. So I mean, I just think that there's ways. A lot of business got to prepare better, and more people need to don't be afraid to ask. Like, yo, I guarantee if you step to your boss on some business shit and be like, look, man, take me off that W-2 shit and throw me on 1099 and and just if you're gonna cut my hours, then just throw me on 1099 and let me get on my bread. 1099 me as a contractor. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna cut my hours, then at least 1099 me as a contractor, and we take it from there. You know what I'm saying?
And they will actually respect you for that because you're actually saving them money by being a 1099.
Exactly. So it's like it's all about negotiation. Don't think that you can't negotiate where you at. I mean, I've been in as a contractor, all pretty much my whole adult life. So I mean, now even as when I worked as a catastrophe adjuster, I've been a contractor. That's what I've been. You know what I'm saying? No, when they ask me, what do you want? No, I'm good. I want to be a contractor. Thank you. You can put that under my business. Thank you.
Yes.
And
exactly.
That's the shit. And a lot of times when it's time, they're like, oh, because a lot of companies be like, in this business that I'm in, they'll be like, nah, we don't want no W-2 workers because when we let them go, they're gonna go good. They're gonna go file unemployment, and we gotta pay for that shit. So when you come, so now here they go, they call, hey Rob, you looking for a job? You looking for an assignment? Yeah, what's up? You 1099? Yeah, of course. That's the only way I do it. Oh, it's lovely, Rob. Come on in, man. Here's the job. Here's the assignments for you. I'm gonna send you over about 30 houses to look at. But meanwhile, the other person wanted W-2, and they don't want to do W-2. They're like, nah, we don't want to do that because we know you're gonna make.
You gotta pay.
Yeah, we're gonna have to pay when we let you go. We're gonna have to pay that shit, and they don't want to pay.
You gotta pay unemployment insurance. Yes. While they're working anyway, like you're paying them. And I learned that from a business manager, on my current job, because he told me that, Street's like, no, well, even while you're working, we pay unemployment insurance anyway.
Yeah,
because if you let go, like you're gonna go file and the money is there already. I said, interesting. Yeah. But he dropped the jewel on me to let me know, like, nah, this is how it works. I said, okay, I could dig it. But it was a mutual respect. He dropped me a jewel, and I let him know that I understood the financial game of, how it all plays out. You know what I mean? So you that's how you got to operate now. We start younger. You teach the kids while they're young. That's why when you used to see these stories where you have kids, they're selling lemonade and things of that nature. Yeah, it looks cute on television, but the bigger picture is, they're a business. You know what I'm saying? They're learning how to interact with people. They're taking money, they're exchanging money, and they're providing a service. So the younger that you start with that, you're actually grooming the person to be an independent business person. And that's basically how you make it in this world. It seems like a struggle, and it is. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot of hard work in it because there is no set amount of hours that you work. You could be up at 2 a.m. and just stay up to 7 a.m. like, yo, I did this for my business, and then go to your day job. Sometimes you up 16 hours, but you got to work for you, and you might have to work for somebody else. That's just how life is in certain stages. That's the game. Like, nobody's going to sit around and just get free money unless you're living off of a trust fund, which was somebody left that for you. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the other side of the game. Like, we had to learn that on the fly. Like, if I knew this when I was 15, 16 years old, that's different. But, when you go to school to learn how to be an employee. So you don't go to learn how to be. They don't teach you about money. They don't teach you about none of that stuff. The onus gets left on us to do it. We got to do it. So the most important thing that I heard in the past 6 months, we've been living this for a long time, but to actually hear somebody else say it. Families need to start family businesses, together.
Yeah.
Get people in your family, put money up, and what do you want to do? What do you want to sell? And that's how you create the generational wealth. You may not be the wealthy person, but 2 generations down the line, they will benefit off of what you did now. And that's how you got to do it. I may not become wealthy, but my children will. My grandchildren will. That's how you want to be able to leave them something that you didn't have. And that's the business. If anything about the $15 an hour stuff, all it did was teach people who are new to business how to move their money, how to operate. And the jewel that you dropped, the jewel for tonight is the 1099. Because you gave an example of a business that you ran for many years and how you paid the employees, how they were able to take responsibility for themselves. Listen, you're a 1099. You got to pay taxes. So instead of you getting hit at the end of the year with this big tax bill, pay it quarterly. Pay every 3 months, pay your bill. Or every 4 months, pay it 3 times a year. But just stay on top of it. Because the one thing that people don't understand is that there's a big difference between getting all of your money and you being in control of it, and then having some entity take your money out like you're a little kid. Like, no, you don't know how to utilize your money, so we're going to take it. We're going to invest it for you. Like, no, I'm good. I'll give me all my money, and I know what the tax rate is. Like, I'm good. I don't need you to baby me, But that's how businesses are set up because, remember, we send millions upon millions to school to be a worker, so they don't know how to operate from that end. Like, no, we're going to take these tax money from you. We're going to tax you, but they don't learn that. So we've learned it now, so we got to pass it down. That's where the family business will come in at. So if I got to pay somebody $15 an hour, I could care less, because I'm paying somebody in my family. How about that? I'm going to pay somebody that, can learn the business. And, you could call it nepotism. You could call it what. If the person in my family is qualified, I'm giving the job to the person in my family. Because it's all about qualified. I'm not just throwing money away. So I'm giving it to this person. Yeah, my cousin do that. He gets the money. And if my cousin don't want to do it no more, then I'll get somebody else that, that can do it. That's how the game works. It's not what you know you do need to know something, but it's who you know. And the more you know, the better off you're going to be. You can't be walking around here like, I'm going to go to school and get a job, and then you'll never be wealthy. You're not going to be wealthy working for somebody else for your whole life. Because I was looking at it the other day. I said, damn, I give this job 35 years of my life, okay? And then I look at the pension that you're going to give me after I done worked the 35 years. This ain't enough. This is not enough money for the time that I put in on that job, for what you're going to cut me based on the investments that you made from taking out my money every 2 weeks and you saying you invest in it or whatever you saying, but then this is my pension. That's not enough.
Yeah.
It just seems like a ripoff. And I said, damn. I got kind of mad, when I really thought about it, like, shit, I'm going to work for you for 30 years and you're going to cut me a check once a month for $5,000 after I'm retired, 20 years from now, without the cost of inflation built in, and I'm supposed to live off of that. Okay, I don't think so. So, when you start doing the math, 1099 is the best way. Be an adult, take care of your own stuff. Now, granted, if you already, this is where the issue comes in. If you already on your job and you a W-2 head, and then you go back, you go to the business office, like, you know what? I want a 1099. They're going to talk you down. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't really want to give you all your money.
They don't want to. They don't want.
They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that unless they operate from that angle already.
But see, in a business like something like waitressing and bartending and those type of businesses,
they love you.
That's where at that point it can be helpful to them.
It's beneficial to them.
when you're talking about a corporation now, they definitely like, well, nah, we're not gonna do that.
Well, why? They're gonna ask you a bunch of questions. Well, why? Well, what is it? It's more along the lines of they're figuring out, well, what did you discover? Well, why do you want to do 1099? Now you got a meeting with corporate executives like, oh, you one of them smart Negroes, huh? We got to fire your ass. You're 1099.
Yeah.
We use your money to invest in some other shit.
We can't just give you your whole check.
Who are you to get all of your check with no taxes taken out? Who are you? Because but there's other ways to do it too. Like if you are on the W-2, there's many ways to do it. You could do 99 and things of that nature, but they only let you do it for half of the year. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll come back to you and be like, all right, now you got to do it the other way. There's many ways so you can get more money, but your responsibility is on you. Whether you're a business owner or an employee, to pay your taxes. But there's many ways to do it. I'm just glad that, we was able to actually bring that out in a discussion and help some people out here because, the people that do listen to the podcast and they go, all right, these guys is really dropping some jewels here. This is something that can reverberate underground. You know what I'm saying? Because this is not mainstream education at all. But you can learn a lot, you know what I'm saying, without preaching to you. But that was a big segment right there, actually. So let me ask you quickly. I told you earlier, I saw this commercial, a video. It was a McDonald's. Because, McDonald's has been in the black community, like, forever. McDonald's is basically a real estate corporation that sells food, because they all over the place. I mean, that's basically what it is. But they recognize their, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not fan base, but their customer base. They're in the hoods. McDonald's are all over the place, but there are many that are in urban areas. And they made this video called Black Excellence, where, they was basically paying homage to black people that are out here doing their thing, doctors, lawyers, family, fathers, and things of that nature. And they just named it Black Excellence, and they was basically saying thank you, and they have scholarships. Like McDonald's is deep in the community, and they sell fast food. That most of the food is going to kill you quicker, than you buying, healthy foods. But they're in the community. Now, as a black person that's going to watch that would see that video like, oh, okay, McDonald's, I appreciate it. Then you start making the ties like, oh, the McDonald's All-American game and Ronald McDonald House. And, you start looking at, oh, okay, well, they've been involved, with black people. But I read some of the comments, like, under the video, and there was white people that were upset, like, well, where's the white excellence video? I don't understand where the white fragility, that's all I could call it. Where is this coming from? Like, it's like they're saying that it's like reverse racism. Like McDonald's is racist for making a Black Excellence commercial. Like, why? Like, how did we get there? Where we live in a society where everything that's been deemed black has been negative portrayal. And here's a corporation that is global, that is saying, you know what, no, there is black excellence out here, and we're going to pay homage to our customer base. And then you got other customers who they're on some, well, that's racist. I don't see a white excellence. I was confused by some of the comments, and I go, what is this really about? I don't know, because if I would have saw, I don't know, so do we need a whole bunch of excellence, commercials, white excellence, Asian excellence? I don't know. I mean, is everybody needs to be happy?
I mean, at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, everybody is just tit for tat. When you say Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. If you say, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's always something. You know, you can't have nothing, but everybody else can have their own shit. But if we got something, it's an issue. So if somebody I mean, at the end of the day, McDonald's is doing that because the biggest consumer of their shit is black people that eat that shit. And black
right.
people spend the most money, so they're not gonna have a commercial talking about white excellence when y'all don't buy their shit. That's what
right.
it's about. It's about advertising and getting the people who buy their shit to keep coming back to buy that shit, and that's just what it is. And you know if you gotta feel that insecure that you need to talk about, well, listen, we've been learning about white excellence since I've been born, and then before that time. So,
right, forever.
So you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's what I mean. It's just petty shit, and you know, everybody wants to be, you know, watching what the next person is doing, or what the next group of people are doing, or the next race of people are doing, and why you didn't say that about us, or why you did this about us. And I mean, it's all
well, good. I'm glad because that's kind of where I went. So it's basically petty shit. So that's why I said it's white fragility, you know. But you know, there are people that actually don't give a shit. You know, they like, oh, that's a nice commercial because you know it shows positive images. You know, and basically McDonald's was, you know, paying homage, you know, to their customer base, which is nothing wrong with that. You know, so, but yes, that's been the issue. If it's been something that's, all right, this is just for blacks, then that's an issue. Like there was a meeting, and there was only black media allowed, you know, at this particular meeting, and then the people were offended. Like, no, some things are just for us. Like if there's a Jewish meeting and I'm not Jewish, you think they want me in there? Yeah, no, they don't.
Exactly. They don't.
I'm not part of their culture.
They not
you know what I'm saying? In. Like they're not letting you in. So this is what I'm saying. So how come we can't respect the culture? Like that's what the whole thing about cultural appropriation is about. Like just because if I go and I put on a yarmulke, I can't go up in the Jewish synagogue just because I got a yarmulke on. You know what I'm saying? Like it's disrespectful. And this ain't even about McDonald's no more. We're just talking about culture, period. You know, there is a group. There's things for specific groups. You know, and there's so much there's things that you're just not going to be able to do if you're not a part of that culture. I mean, it's really that simple.
That's simple.
You know, it can't get no more simple than that. So without even we don't need to go deep on that. Like, there's a group for everybody, for whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like we could just leave it just like that.
Just leave it.
You know, but I just brought it up because you know I had saw before we got on. I had saw the video and I just wanted to touch on that. And before we go, I guess we could touch on at Howard University. You know, they've been having some issues there. Well, because you know, if anybody that doesn't know, Howard is actually one of those. It's an urban institution. The institution is in urban America. You know, it's in the hood basically. I don't want to say hood as a negative. It's like most of them. Like it's within the. Which you know what? Let's back up. When colleges were built, they were really placed in communities because they were supposed to be a part of that culture of where it is. So that's how they were built. That's like the CUNY system in New York City. The colleges are in the city so they can be easily accessible. So now, when you're on a college campus, wherever it is, they have campus boundaries. There are things that they say that you can and cannot do. Now, if anybody has been in Howard, on the yard, which is sacred, it's sacred ground. It's really for the college students. It's private property. They pay a hell of a lot of money to be there.
Yes, sir.
I don't give a damn if it is, you know, near a major cross street or whatever. That's the college campus boundary. You can't walk your dog on campus and let them run loose. It's not a dog park. Like, it's so disrespectful. And then some of the people that are actually the violators of the campus rule, you know, to say, well, they need to get with it. No, motherfucker, you need to take your dog and go down another route. Like, you're not going to violate a college campus because you want to let your dog shit. And you probably ain't even got the pooper scooper or no plastic bag. Like, nasty fuckers, you know? picking this shit up. Like, but that's not what it's supposed to be. So I'm glad that Howard actually took a stand to say, no, we're going to police this area. Make sure that violators are not letting their dog. They had to.
Well,
it's
that's
Howard.
what I was, because originally when I seen it, I was just like, what is the school doing? Because my main thing was that if this was on any other university campus in the D.C. area, the Georgetown, American, George Washington.
Can you imagine that shit at American or George Washington?
And
Georgetown.
Just imagine you as a black man walking your dog through there on their campus, and you don't belong there.
At American.
It'd be a whole different narrative. It would have been a whole
different narrative. Not only would the campus police get involved, upon my exit, I'll be met with the state police.
Exactly.
when I get off the ground, it's like disrespectful.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, and just because regentrification is in that area, this has been here since 1860 something. So they don't have to get with shit. This is considered basically sacred land. This is our
sacred ground.
So this is our shit.
The yard.
We don't have to. This is a yard. This is where college students who pay damn near $50,000 a year come, and this is their shit. They don't have to. They're not obligated to look at you and your dog, and you don't go here. No, that's not how it works.
And you make no contribution towards that university at all because it's private.
Exactly. So I mean, it just shows the ignorance of people and what they feel they're obligated. Just because you move somewhere doesn't mean that what's been there has got to leave.
Or it has to change to fit
you. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And it doesn't. And unfortunately, at a lot of areas, a lot of the city areas where prominently where black people lived in these areas now are being gentrified and and being taken over. And it's bringing mass because you want to live in these areas, but you're scared. So now here comes the added police protection and shit like that. When black people was living there, you didn't have that. There wasn't no added. It was you basically what it is. And
let's look at it from the other side, Rob. Like from exactly what you said. First of all, y'all moving into these areas that y'all deem, poor. You know why? Because your ass is poor. So if I'm poor and you're poor, then chill the fuck out. Follow the rules of the area that you're living in. You're a visitor.
But that's the thing. Are you going to stay here? The rules. They don't understand.
They don't know the rules.
They don't know. It's not even the rules. You don't understand the culture.
Right.
So there's really a culture that's in these
definitely
areas
a culture.
that you don't know about. And you thinking that you can, it's just like if you moved to Bensonhurst and shit, all Italian area, and you come in there, you got to understand their culture. And further of all, it's going to be hard to even get a place to move in.
It's going to be hard to get a place. Yeah, it's going to be hard to get a place in that area because culturally, because this is the way that the neighborhoods have been set up from the beginning. Like that's what the whole redlining process is about. It's about having a neighborhood based on its culture. But being that the redline areas are the cheapest to live in, people from other cultures try to come into our neighborhoods and live there.
Well, just like in Brooklyn, it basically was. The landlords now, what they've done is they're just moving their kids in there in these areas with their roommates and their friends and renting out their place to them. So now there's no place, like if you, it's very hard up north to find a place to live. I mean, it's very hard anywhere nowadays to really find a place to live. And even in some of these areas now that, they regentrify, even if you're a working middle-class black person, they still don't want to even rent to you. And this was prominent, this was the area that black people lived in, like Flatbush. Like, I mean,
Absolutely.
That shit was all now. You go to Flatbush in the daytime, you got all kind of shit outside. You got pubs and bars and people sitting in. You ain't never seen that type of shit going on, but now it's there.
Exactly.
So now that you did, okay, but once again, what does that do? That money ain't staying in the community. That money ain't staying in the community, and all you're doing is trying to push people out and take over that area, and that's where black people have gone wrong. They've given up. They're willing. They've sold their properties to move out to Long Island, upstate, down south, wherever they're Florida, wherever the hell they want to go. And they used to own these properties, and they're not realizing you should have kept these properties. If you could, I can't say everybody could afford to keep them, but if you could, you should have kept them. Like, that's what you should have did. That's just real talk. Like, because you could have been a landlord yourself, and you still have say-so in this community because you're a landlord. You have property here. You own things in the area. You got properties, you got whatever, you put a store up. But, black people, they put a store up, and they move to Long Island, they'll move somewhere else, uptown, to the Bronx, out far, towards Westchester, shit like that. Man, and I get it. Because that's what
I get it too.
But that's what we were trained to think. Like, we gotta leave our hood. You know what I'm saying? Because we can't stay in the hood. And now, and people are definitely scared because when you're making money, you become a target in the hood. So that's definitely, something that's real. That's a real thing.
Well, it's definitely real. But you become a target when you make money, and let's say you leave your neighborhood and you go into somebody else's part of town. You become a target over there. You become a target to racism.
Yeah.
Or overt racism too. Like you could be, you're talking about police presence and things of that nature. Like you're new to over here. Like, well, you need to learn the way we live over here now, son, or boy, or whatever the fuck they want to call you. Like to make you get out of character. So your money doesn't mean anything once you leave. To go to these other areas. Now, the flip side is if you're going to stay in your area, this is where the community building has to come into play because you have to know who the power players are in your community to keep certain shit in line. Like, yes, there will always be some type of crime element, whatever it is, peddling of drugs or this and that, but there has to be a code. And that's one thing that was always in effect, back when I was a child. There was a code to how things was done. Like, yeah, there was drugs being sold, but no, you didn't sell it over here. You didn't do it over here in front of kids.
Yeah,
you didn't do it during these hours. That code, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That code is gone
that deteriorated. But it could come back. It could come back once, because a lot of the time you got to look at it like, if you spend in a neighborhood your whole life, you've gotten to know the kids of the people that you grew up with or their kids. So especially if you've been there that long. So this is where we could actually go back to that. But it goes back to the earlier part of the conversation. You can't be afraid of the youth. In your community.
That's too late because most people, old people, are definitely afraid of these kids.
No, the ones that's also about our age,
even
can't be afraid of them.
Even our age.
Yeah, well, yeah, some of us. You know why? Because they sold out. You checked out. Because this is the part that was always confusing to me. When we were that age, let's say 15, 16, 17, we didn't do anything by ourselves. We had a learning tool. Somebody was trying to school us to the game. So how do we get this age and we going to leave these 16, 17-year-olds to fend for themselves? That shit don't make sense to me. And then we get mad at them, or they don't know no better, or they don't listen.
Well, you got to remember, drugs did a lot of that shit. So when
drugs did a lot. The drugs killed the game. Absolutely.
That made kids that have to grow up faster and fend for themselves.
No doubt.
And build, that gives them, a cold heart, Nobody gives a fuck. It's just me out here. I gotta take care of myself. fuck everybody else. You know what I'm
True
saying?
indeed.
That's how it is.
That's true though.
That's how it
Well,
goes.
finances do that. That's the financial aspect though. So yeah,
Exactly.
money. All right, so money cures problems, and right, and then money brings problems. So then you gotta fix yourself. It's like, you know.
Exactly. I mean, you
know,
gotta have it's a balance. Like, to me, you know, if you're gonna be in the neighborhood, and if it's your neighborhood and you grew up in this neighborhood and things like that, then you know who's who in the neighborhood. So you know who to reach out to and touch and say,
right.
look, such and such, this is my spot. Da 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 da. You know, this and that. You know, you gotta basically, it's like a business. It's a business. You negotiating with the streets. Cause you like, look, man, this is my shit. Da da da. And I'm gonna need you. You know what I'm saying? Certain things you just can't do in front of my shit. I ain't,
right.
you know, you ain't gotta worry about none of that other shit. But certain things, you know, school times and shit like that, I don't want to see y'all motherfuckers hanging around right here on this shit right here. Respect
right.
that.
And that becomes part of the culture too, and it becomes unwritten.
But you have to have the know-how, and you have to have that kind of respect that they're gonna respect you like that. And
Absolutely.
It's all gonna be about the way you carry yourself and how, you know, and basically always keeping it 100. Like, you know what I'm saying, stand for what you stand for, and, you know, that's just what it is. Like, look, this is what it is, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you can be you could go to a lot of places and be in different hoods and shit, but the language of realness is always the same. Like, motherfucker gonna tell if you're a real person. Like, you about what you say and the things you're doing and how you carry yourself, because it's all about how you carry yourself, really. Like,
that never changes.
That never changes with anything.
That's a constant, and that's true. That's the jewel. That's the jewel of the program right there. You know, no matter where you go or how you have to carry yourself in a certain. Be yourself, carry yourself, be true to yourself. Real, recognize real is an actual. That's actual fact right there. We know realness. We know when we see them. You know what, that, you know, when you pass somebody, you like, we talking about vibrations and energy right now. You can see it. You give a dude a head nod, like, yeah, you know, salute a cat. I don't know you, but yeah, I know you real. You salute a cat, that's it. You know, I know him from the neighborhood or whatever. That's real right there. Like, nah, this dude, like, because you never know. When you wherever you live, when people see you and how you carry yourself, they respect that. You know what I mean? So that's because you're authentic. You know, so we got to come back to the real, recognize the real, and we know fake. You know, we also can see fake. We can see through it. Fake is unpredictable. You sketchy. You know, fake is gonna run from real, but we also know that they're unpredictable. So they liable to do anything. But if you're real and you're true to yourself and true to the game, and you know the culture that you're living in, you can make some waves. You know what I'm saying? It took a minute for the culture to be deteriorated, right? So it's going to take at least half of the time to build it back up to the point where, as we said, we got to bring some morals back into the game. Like, the dialogue, in terms of understanding what something is. Like, you got to know the difference between a civilian and a street person, a businessman and a worker. You know, like, these are just basic things that once we're able to break it down for a younger person to get it, their life would be so much easier. They know they got to get money. There's no question. Everybody got to get money. We know that. But once they figured that part out, that can be the contribution to their livelihood. Like, yo, thanks, OG. Yo, you really, when you talk to me about this, and I go, yeah, what I talk to you about. It's like, and then they break it down like, oh, yeah, just trying to give a helping hand or whatever. Like, you could be surprised, man. It'd be a little jewel like that. Person take that with them on to the rest of their life, and they'll never forget you.
Yeah.
You real. You ain't thinking about it. Like, I just had a conversation with, you call them a youngin', but you watch them grow, and now they grown men, and they give a different perspective to the same thing. Then that's another thing. We can't stop learning. we always got, we got to read and, keep up with the times in terms of not being of the world per se, but just know what's going on and how the game is being played. Because remember, it's all about, it's class now. It ain't they killing us with the racism right now because everything is race this, race that. But in reality, it's a chessboard for class. What class are you in? You poor? Rich is subjective. Like, rich is how you feel about how you maintain your money. Because, you miss a couple of paychecks and your ass is poor, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
You start missing shit. So unless you're wealthy, but that's a whole nother. These are the things that we're gonna build on, obviously, as we continue, with the podcast as we go on. But it was important that we discussed what we did tonight. We started over Joey Badass, American Badass album. We had to go there, talked about the minimum wage. We talked about McDonald's and black excellence, and then we talked about Howard, University, and now we talking about the relationship aspect. But on the next podcast, we'll dive in deep on the actual relationships within the community between black man and black women and these things, because this is the elephant in the room.
In the room, yeah, definitely.
It's definitely in the room, and it can't be a segment. It can't be a 15-minute conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't going to work.
Gotta get in depth.
We got to talk about it's got to be in depth. And we have planned to really talk about it, but when we actually started building, we realized, like, it's way deeper than, trying to fit it in. That's going to have to be its own podcast and with the own segment by itself. And that's true. So I guess with the comedy segment, we can end it like this. This is comedy right here. African countries should pay reparation to black people. Now, which country? Because I read that online. Because you start talking about people who they think they're smart and they say things, and it was read just like that. Should Africa pay reparations to black people since Africans sold black people into slavery? Now, when I read that, I go, this is the part where I actually like to get off of social media when I start seeing stuff like that, because it makes you say, like, well, what is this person really thinking? Like, how many countries Africa has? Which country should pay the reparations? Because they're not thinking like that. Africa is just one piece to them, this one piece of land. Like, there are not 50 different cultures in Africa, like, their own countries. So which country should pay it? Should it just be Ivory Coast? Should it be South Africa? I mean, people just say the craziest things, but I just thought that, I wanted to put that out there. People need to do a little research, on the continent of Africa and let's not play the game with the reparations, especially with the different presidential candidates that are coming up that keep bringing it up.
We're going to touch on that.
You got to touch on that, too. We're definitely going to touch on that, and then we also going to have to go into, one that was very intriguing to me, as a person who went to school and played that game, getting rid of the student loan debt. if Elizabeth Warren is serious about that, we shall see. But I'm a skeptic, dog. Because I'm a skeptic when they start talking about, you want to do this and do that. Like,
all that shit talking to it.
That shit is talking. You talking bullshit. The presidential election is 2020. We got a little ways for that. Let's see what the summer brings, and then the fall. Because once the new year comes in, the bullshit is going to steamroll at 1,000%. So we'll see.
Definitely.
But, we the grumpy men, and, we wanted to, reach the people and just, break it down, man. That's what we do. You can catch us on, we on Spotify. You can go to the website, thegrumpymen.com. I don't know. We're everywhere. YouTube.
We out here, man. We out here,
man. Just check us out. But we on Apple Podcasts. But the main parts, we're on Apple Podcasts, obviously, and we're on Spotify. So, and that's what it is, man.
That's what it is for right now.
That's what it is for right now. So, you got anything you want to say before we sign off, brother? The Grumpy Men?
Grumpy Men. Tune in next time, man. We always got something to give you. We're going to always give you some jewels. Believe that. Something to live by, something to learn, you know. Just passing on the jewels that we have and that we've gotten in life and giving them out to the people. So, till next time, Bobby Mays out. Peace.
Peace. C Grooves out of here. Peace.